Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, this meeting notice was sent to the Asbury Park Press on June 15, 2021, and has been duly advertised in the Asbury Park Press, issued June 17, 2021. All municipal clerks of the township and the boroughs within the regional high school districts have been duly notified, and the requirements of the posting of the notices have been met on June 15. Let's please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a motion to approve June 10, 2021 regular board meeting? May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Capiello?
Yes.
Ms. Bigley?
Yes.
Mr. Messenger?
Yes.
Mr. Moses? Yes. Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Parisi?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes. Just so you know, communications are on file in the office of the board secretary. We have the superintendent's reports. Dr. Sampson?
Thank you, Mr. Bruno. July 15th, sort of summer's up and running. Pleased to report that our various summer programs are going incredibly well. We are running obviously an extended school year program, a Jump Start program, an original credit program, a credit recovery program. Forthcoming is an Algebra 1 bridge program, an AP Summer Bridge program. And so we have somewhere north of 1,100 students or so actively involved and engaged over the summer. And if you were at Colts Neck High School over the summer, much to Dr. Donahue's chagrin, it's just like a regular school year, pretty much throughout the summer. So off without a hitch, feel very, very good about the opportunities that we're providing students in the summer months, and the feedback thus far has been tremendous. Couple just brief updates. Policy committee did not meet, but we are just taking 2 actions tonight, which was sent to the board well ahead of the meeting. It's just abolishing 2 policies. The first was policy 5111-1.1, which is just deals with the attendance of exchange students. That policy has been subsumed in a subsequent policy 5111, so there's no need for it any longer. It's an abolishment. And we're also recommending that policy 1649, the Federal Families First Coronavirus Response Act, be abolished because that ship set sailed as of December 31st, 2020. So those are on the agenda for the board's review as well. And that was sent to, I think the board either earlier this week or late last week. Discussing our, obviously we're just, meeting regularly, talk about reopening in the fall and what that looks like. A lot of unknowns at this point in time. Our summer programs, though, give us a very good indicator of what to expect, and it has been incredibly smooth there. There's the New Jersey Department of Ed put out the Road Forward, which is additional guidance at this point in time, a little bit different than what was originally put out in August of last year. There's lots more recommendations rather than sort of simple mandatory standards, and there's some real nebulous language in there, but one thing is clear is that the intent is to get back to full-time instruction and classroom time for students, which is something that we have long advocated for here. Some changes around social distancing and moving off of the 6 foot to 3 foot, which will be obviously welcome. One thing that has not changed thus far, and we'll see where the state of New Jersey lands come the fall, the quarantining rules. We're hoping to see some movement on what that looks like. I said it publicly here, and I'll say it again and again. I think that we absolutely over-quarantine students as a result of those requirements. And I'm hoping that there's more opportunity to be much more specific about what that looks like in the fall, rather than casting such a wide net. Obviously, that all depends on the COVID activity level index across the state, whether the state's in green or yellow or orange. Those numbers have been challenged in how they're arrived at. I do think New Jersey tends to skew upward, which causes us to more easily move from green to yellow, from yellow to orange, which is problematic in my estimation and estimation of many of my colleagues. So we're hoping for some change there, and we'll see what the fall brings. The entire leadership is coming together the first week in August as just sort of a midpoint. We traditionally put out our welcome back mailings to our parents and communities, usually around August 13th or 14th or thereabouts. We're probably going to put that out a little bit later this year. What we don't want to have happen is some hard pivot from the state that we're unaware of, and then we have to re-communicate what our plan of action is. So we're going to take our time with that in terms of, we'll be timely in the sense of putting it out for our parents and for our students and our guardians, but we probably will not put it out as early as we have in the past, just to err on the side of caution there. I will note, because we've dealt with some, parents will sometimes call and say, well, why aren't you doing X? You're receiving all these federal dollars. I think it's important to note that I believe New Jersey is the only state in the union still cutting school districts' aid while receiving federal dollars. We are one of those districts in this state through Senate Bill 2 who are being cut in all of this. We were fortunate to receive a boost in extraordinary aid this year, and we're thankful for that. But the net loss for us is still north of $5 million in terms of the cut during all of this. How the state of New Jersey and the powers that be can think that it's appropriate to cut a school district in aid coming off of a now 17-month pandemic and all the additional expenses that occurred is unconscionable to me. It's frankly disgusting. We're dealing with that, and so I would continue to remind our community that Senate Bill 2, S2, is still cutting this district by millions of dollars. It will reduce our aid by millions next year and the year after to a total of $30 million off of a $200 million budget. Bless you. It's insanity. The funding formula needs to be revisited. It doesn't just need to be revisited, it needs to be reworked. Mr. Boyce and I have ad nauseum testified before the Senate Ed, the Assembly Ed, provided written testimony, met with elected officials over and over again to discuss the various flaws in that funding formula. And I continue to point out that the Freehold Regional High School District educates children in this district for somewhere around $3,500 less per pupil than the average high school in the state. And so you take a district that is a model of efficiency like ours, a district that opened our doors during the pandemic and incurred those expenses, and I will say it publicly, if your doors were closed, you saved money, right? Our doors were open, and instead of ensuring that we have the additional funding that's needed to provide the supports that our students and community deserve, we are being reduced to the tune of $5 million. I think that's something that our community needs to keep in mind, needs to continue to reach out and advocate for change, because we have been at this for 5 years now with very limited change. We saw a boost in extraordinary aid this year, which is welcome, and we saw some legislation come out from Senator Gopal and crew asking for a revisit to the funding formula, but we have seen no action in change, and it's been years. And all the while, we're being reduced. And so that's happening, which leads me to my next point. And in November, we're going out for a referendum for the third bite of the apple with our referendum. And the last time we went out, last election year, it was a narrow defeat of that referendum. It was 51% to 49%. A number of our communities did pass the referendum. It was a very difficult pill to swallow because that was needed work. We are going back out in November with nothing but infrastructure, paving and roofs, period. Asking our communities to support a referendum for critical infrastructure work around paving and roofing, to which the state will pick up 40% of the cost if the referendum is passed, which I think is a huge caveat, because this is work that's going to have to be done regardless. And if this work has to be done without the referendum, it will just mean that we have to cut more programs, staff, and as such for our children. And so that will be the message, and we'll really begin to hit that in earnest in late August, and September and October as we head to the November election day. We've begun reaching out with a number of critical contacts in each community, and meeting with those groups and explaining the purpose. And this is our third bite at this apple, and so these meetings have been held dozens and dozens and dozens of times leading up to this. And so, to move forward on this, the total scope of the project, Mr. Boyce, is what's the
$14,460,000. That's the referendum question, and really what the vote is authorization for the district to issue bonds, get that money, and do the work. The payback comes over 20-year payment of the bonds, and that's where, as Dr. Sampson said, the state will pick up 40% of that cost, and the district picks up the other 60%.
And the work is basically roofs and parking lots?
The work is roof and parking lots, and we made a decision to refine that scope of work down to that which we considered critical and urgent. And by critical, it's, keep the doors open kind of critical, and urgent as in it's imminent, right? So either currently this work is to be done, roof work, or within the next 3 years. There's a scope of work right behind that of roof sections that are coming due. We chose not to include that because we really wanted to make this this offering as tight and precise as we could. So that's the decision that we made for going out for scope of work.
Thank you, Mr. Boyce. And that's the update thus far, Mr. Bruno. We're looking forward to the next couple weeks and hoping that there's clarity for the fall. I see signs out in the audience about unmasking our children. Yeah, it's we have 1,100 kids in our building now, and it's they're wearing masks if they choose to, but it's certainly not mandated to. So, thank you, Mr. Bruno.
Thank you. We do not have any reports tonight, no board reports.
No board reports tonight. We do have some folks that would like to speak, public participation. Mrs. Wallace, no?
Before we do that, if I could make some
Yes, I'm
changes.
sorry.
So, addendum to the agenda. There are 5. 3 of those addendums are available on the table out front. The other 2, I'll read into the record. So, the first 3, I-5, these are additional items. I-5, which is awarding of transportation routes as a result of our recent bid. I-6, which is the awarding of transportation routes through the renewal mechanism. And J19 is approval to apply and accept funding for the 21-22 IDEA-B federal grant. So those 3 addendum are available out in the front table. The other 2, I'll read in. The first is G13, and that is approval of the Freehold Regional Custodial Maintenance Association Successor Agreement. Reads, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the Board Negotiations Committee to adopt and approve the June 10th, 2021 Memorandum of Agreement and proposed salary guides with the Freehold Regional Custodial and Maintenance Association for the period of July 1, 2020 to June 30th, 2023. And finally, I-7, which is approval of the lease agreement amendment. Be it resolved by the Freehold Regional High School District Board of Education to adopt and approve the July 2021 First Amendment to the May 2021 lease agreement between the Freehold Regional High School District Board of Education and 865 NJ 33SD LLC. And with those amendments to the agenda, Mr. Bruno, that's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, back to public participation. Mrs. Wallace from Alvin. Hi, Mrs. Wallace. Hi.
I'm here again, right? And I can hear what you just said, but
Check if your mic's on.
is it on?
There it is.
Okay, so I do still have some concerns. So I know you just said as of now, looks like there's not going to be any mask in the fall. Okay. Now, are we waiting for the CDC? Are we waiting for Murphy? Because we know it's out there right now. Okay? What the CDC is saying is that they recommend, so let's be careful with the words that we use. It is not have to, is not mandated. The CDC states is recommended for the unvaccinated to wear a mask in school. That is why I'm here, okay? I do have some concerns. As you know, my daughter, Julie Wallace, she will be a junior at Freehold Township High School, and I cannot believe you're leaving. Oh my goodness, she's gonna be so devastated when I tell her tonight to coach English. So my daughter, she plays 3 sports, and she absolutely loves Coach English over there. So it's a little sad to see that you're going, but congratulations. Okay, my son's at Auburn High School, so you'll get a taste of him. Okay, so with that said, as far as before I get into the mask and talking about the vaccinations and unvaccinated and the whole separation and what may or may not happen, regarding the S2, I was reading that and I did share it. And I did look, and within my zoning, my district, I saw that Thompson did abstain from voting, and to me, that's like not voting at all. And I saw how Gopal voted in the Freehold district also. So I'm definitely involved in a lot of different groups and a lot of people within the high school district and trying to make them more aware of it. So I am very proactive in seeing what's going on, and I'm here to support the school as much as possible. But I'm also here to protect my children. I don't want my children to be discriminated against. So I do understand that the ARP ESR, that the funding, getting $122 billion to states and school districts that have a very safe plan to return. I'm also very aware that regarding the ARP, that the LEA must listen to public comment and take that into consideration when they decide how to proceed in September with the children. So I'm being proactive because right now the Shore Regional School District sent a letter out, the superintendent, stating that the unvaccinated should really go get a vaccine by August to ensure that they're not going to have to wear a mask in school. Once again, that's segregation. So Murphy and the CDC are on a mission. They're on a mission to vaccinate all kids, and there'll be consequences. And the consequences, once again, is to segregate and wear a mask. But let's be clear, the CDC is recommending, they're not mandating it. So make sure we read the words clearly. With that said, I will inform you again that currently masks are authorized for use by the general public as an investigational product under the EUA. There are no approved products and refer to the law as an unapproved product because they had not been fully tested and approved for use by the FDA. So let's follow the science and let's listen to the FDA. Under federal law that allows the FDA to issue the EUAs, you cannot be forced to wear a mask. The law provides the recipients of the product of the authorized for use under the EUA the right to refuse the product. And I will tell you, my children will not be discriminated against. My children will not be wearing a mask when they go into the school. So regardless of what Murphy says, and regardless of what happens with the CDC and what decisions we make, my children will be in school without a mask. So, to authorize a mask, it must meet the following requirements. The product is labeled accurately to describe the product of a face mask and includes a list of body contacting materials, which does not include drugs or biologics. The product is labeled accurately, so it does not claim to be intended for the use as a surgical mask or to provide a liquid barrier protection. The product labeling includes recommendation against use in clinical settings where the infection risk through inhalation or exposure is high. So this product is not labeled in such a manner that would misrepresent the product's intended use. For example, the labeling must not state or imply that the product is intended for antimicrobial or antiviral protection, so they don't work, or related use, or use of infection prevention or reduction. They don't work. This is in the labels. Thus, any statement by our administrators, teachers, staff, or Murphy that mask is required to protect against microbes or viruses, or is required to prevent or reduce infection, and contrary to the use of the authorization of masks, will be not tolerated. When I attended the last board meeting, we did discuss how ineffective the masks were. And I know you guys get it. I understand that. But I have to sit here and state this because it's required by our ARP that the LEA must listen to public comments and take it into consideration. So I might be repeating myself. You guys may know all this, and you're like, okay, what am I going to do? We have to listen to Murphy, what the CDC says. You're going to have a fight on your hands because this is not over for us. And my kids are not going to be discriminated because they're not vaccinated. Now, I would like to say that wearing a mask for 6 to 8 hours a day, and social distancing, and contact tracing, and temperature checks, if that's still going to happen in school, and testing have created an epidemic today of anxiety, depression, and fear in all of our children. It must stop. None of this was necessary, and I think you guys know that. The CDC also found out that mental health-related emergency room visits increased by 31% in 2020 for children between the ages of 12 and 17 from March to October, compared to the same period of 2019. While masks serve no level of protection, scientific studies show that they lower oxygen levels, and while raising the blood levels of carbon dioxide, it does affect the respiratory physiology function. It will actually trap the exhaled viral pathogens, which increases severity of a viral load. They collect and colonize viruses and bacteria. They are dangerous for those with asthma and those with respiratory issues, and are a major threat to a child's development due to anxiety, sleep problems, and creating fear of germs. And we're seeing this. I think as a parent, you see it. If you have grandchildren, you're seeing it. So, when time comes, my question to you is, when you hear what the CDC has to say and what Murphy has to say, will you be discriminating against the students and staff who are not vaccinated and make them wear a mask? Will you be promoting the vaccine, and will you disclose the known risk? How will those risks be disclosed? Will this experimental medical intervention promotion be weaved into the classrooms? And I ask this because it has happened. And I think I discussed this before on the slide at the end of the meeting. Because my daughter experienced this in class. I heard it on the virtual meeting. And while she was in class, teachers asking who's vaccinated, who's not vaccinated, giving their personal medical opinion in class, where there's no room for that. They're making these children feel uncomfortable, and I do not appreciate it. How is it going to make the students feel? that are not vaccinated? Do we care about their feelings? According to the road forward, the LEA is encouraged to have a system in place to determine the vaccination status of students and staff. The goal is to encourage, or should I say, bully and make the ones who choose not to take the experimental use authorization vaccine feel like they're a leopard in school, and the people will know because they'll have a mask on. This is segregation and discrimination. Are you going to be held liable if there's a rare adverse events that occur? Will the community be made aware about who is liable or if an incident should occur? Will the high school students be segregated by the vaccination status? I'm not jumping ahead here. It's in the writing. I'm paying close attention to what's happening. This is not my first rodeo here. I'm in Trenton. I'm following things. I'm involved in multiple groups. We're getting stronger by the minute, day by day. And this is not about anti-vax. This is not about pro-vax. So get those labels out of your heads if you're thinking that right now. It has nothing to do with that. It's all about medical freedom, medical choice. It's about a parent to decide what is best for their child. Not the school, not the teachers, not the administration, and not Murphy. It is my decision as a parent. So, please tell me, how do the unvaccinated threaten the vaccinated? I would like you to give me that stat if you're going to put a mask on my child. Once again, I don't need anyone to tell me how to provide health care to my child. All who have chosen to not vaccinate are well informed. Believe me, they're well informed. They don't need your protection. We know what we're doing. CDC recently held an emergency meeting at the beginning of July. If you're not aware, there is 2,200 cases of myocarditis and pericarditis in children and young adults that was released on July 7th, which they have said most likely is from the COVID injections. Due to this, the FDA is now putting a warning on both Moderna and Pfizer's fact sheets. This is just one potential side effect my child can get from this experimental injection. J&J just added to the warning for autoimmune disorder called Guillain-Barré syndrome, GBS. So here we are. Our child must take a vaccine if the CDC says so, or they have to wear a mask in school. While we have all these risks, I'm supposed to take that risk on my child on a virus that has over a 99.998% recovery rate? My child falls in that category. I'm responsible for my child.
Ms. Wells, my board has a time limit.
Okay,
5 minutes per speaker. You've been going on for 11 minutes.
Okay,
So
well,
you just wrap up.
Does anyone else want to speak?
No, we actually don't do, excuse me, we don't do proxy.
Okay, no, I'm not asking that. I just want to make sure I'm not stepping over the time.
you're doing well. Wrap it up.
Do you mind wrapping it up?
I will wrap it up. But let me be heard on this, and I'm almost done. I will be heard, and this is, I'm going to finish. I'm almost done. I'm almost done.
As we used to.
Okay, so here we go.
People
So
take other people's time.
I'm not going to take anyone's time. If anyone wants me to sit down in the audience, I would be more than happy to sit down. Okay, so with that said, as of July 7th, if you're not aware of the VAERS, what VAERS is, it is the United States CDC Commission Harvard Pilgrim Health Care Study. Okay, the VAERS is a vaccine adverse event reaction system. All right, only 1% gets reported, and so listen. 24 years I've been doing this. I'm not new to this. Okay, I know science, and I make my own medical decisions. But with that said, if you were to tell me I put my child, a mask on my child, we are going to have a problem here. Because right now, according to theirs, and only 1% is reported, there's 438,400 adverse events, 26,818 hospitalizations, 7,463 disabled, 3,324 heart attacks, 985 miscarriages, and 9,048 deaths. And that is only 1% being reported. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to tell you right now what I do know under the FDA Act. Informed consent is needed. I'm not going to be coerced. I'm not going to be told that my child has to wear a mask to be vaccinated. So with that said, the option to reviews is there. It is the FDA Act Title 21 USC 36 BBB 3E 1A II, and so on. And I will share that with you. So I do have the right to refuse. If you're going to if you're going to require the mask for the unvaccinated when you're waiting to hear back from the CDC and Murphy, I would like you to provide and prove the safety of school day masking with this medical intervention that the high schools might require. According to the Open Public Act, the government who has Executive Order 175 in place must provide the schools with studies to show the effect of physical, emotional, and mental health that masks have on our children. And according to that act, if I request this, you have 7 days to provide it, if we're going to implement this. Also, if this is going to be pushed and discrimination is allowed, I would like to have the risk management identity bond policies. In the end here, I hope you guys are very aware of what the Nuremberg Code is. If you don't know what the Nuremberg Code is, look it up. Because I'll tell you what, this is crimes against humanity. And if you comply, and you know that there could be damage to my child, and my child can get hurt, and you're affecting the health of my child, the Nuremberg Code will be applied. So, once again, guys, listen, I know I'm passionate, and yes, I took up the time for more than 11 minutes, and I know the people who are sitting behind me, they're pretty much here for me, and that's why they came. And we're working together, and we're going to grow in numbers, and I will be here. So I really hope what you said, there will be no mask, but I see what's written down right now in the CDC. I see what Murphy's saying day in and day out, so I know we can see where it's going, and we're seeing what school districts are doing already. So just letting you know that my kids will be attending school without a mask. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Conti? Mrs. Conti? Go Hal?
Hi, I thank you so much for taking a moment. I'm not going to take up your time because Mrs. Wallace basically said exactly what I was going to be going through. I'm in complete agreement. I do implore each and every one of you as educators and people who are passionate about children and their health and their well-being that you really take into consideration everything that Mrs. Wallace stated. If you need any of that information, I'd be more than happy to provide it for all of you, because I feel it's very important for us to truly protect our children and to also stand up for them and to teach them why we have a constitution and what is lawful and what is unlawful. So I thank you for your time, and once again, my child will not be coming back to school for his super senior year with a mask. He's very upset if that has to happen because he was extremely psychologically affected by having to learn virtually, being that he is special need. And it's very important for him. He's come such a long way through the unbelievable program in the Freehold Regional School District the past 18 years, and I am grateful and thank you for that. But please work with the parents and be on our side to fight for our freedoms, because we're about to lose them. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Mr. Wallace, are you going to? No? Okay, so I think that's it with public participation. And we're going to move along here, okay? We're going to take personnel and negotiations. We're going to take G1 through G13. I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Vice, may I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Parisi? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cappiello?
Yes on everything except G13, and on that I abstain.
Mrs. Higley?
Yes, except that staying on G8 for Joanne Becker.
G13
and G13.
and G13.
Oh, okay, it's not down there, sorry.
Thank you. Mrs. Lavin?
Yes.
Mr. Messinger?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
I have a question. I guess it's for Mark. Do I have, or maybe Chuck, do I have to abstain on Matt Cooper? No.
No.
Yes,
Thank you. Mr. Weiss?
Yes.
Mr. Parisi?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes. Next, we're going to take program, operations, building, transportation, and physical plant, H1 through I7. I7. May I have a motion? Second?
Motion.
Mr. Parisi, discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cappiello?
Yes.
Mrs. Higley?
Yes, except for K1.
We're not calling for anything, just up to I7.
Okay, all right.
I7.
Mrs. Lavin?
Yes.
Mr. Messinger?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
yes.
Mr. Weiss?
Yes.
Mr. Parisi?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes. Next, we're going to take educational programs and administration programs. We're going to go J1 through J1 through K6. Motion?
Second.
Second, Ms. Higley. Ms. Higley. Discussion?
I'm sorry, Mr. Bruno. Who made the
Motion,
motion?
Higley?
She seconded.
Seconded.
Who made the motion?
I think actually did.
That's
Mr. Moses. Mr.
Because I
Moses.
know that was abnormal.
Thank you. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cappiello?
Yes.
Mrs. Higley?
Yes, except abstain on K1 for Leanne Reckenwald.
Mrs. Lavin?
Yes.
Mr. Messinger?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
Yes.
Mr. Weiss?
Yes.
Mr. Parisi?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes. Any board members like to discuss old business? No old business? Any board members like to discuss new business?
I'd just like to thank all the coaches that are retiring, particularly Brian Boyce and Mike Siena, for all their hard work. It's a very difficult time to be a coach in this country, that's for sure. So I just want to thank them for their hard work and service.
Thank you.
I have a few items, Mr. Bruno. Does anybody on the board have anything else?
I just had a New Jersey school board.
Mark has some school board stuff. Right,
So
Mark?
I just wanted to share with the board and the public that we are tentatively scheduled to have a New Jersey School Board Association training with our field service representative, Kathy Weinkoff, tentatively scheduled for August 5th. I will talk with Dr. Sampson. I'm hoping that we can do this in person. I believe Kathy Weinkoff may want to do this in person. But we've got a date set. We'll figure out what the topic is that we're going to do. And if we do it in person, we think we'll be in the high school or probably in the admin building.
We'll do it at the admin building.
August 5th, right?
August 5th,
Okay.
yes. All right. So just want to share that with everyone that knowing their information.
Thank you. Any other things?
Yeah, I want to introduce and congratulate a few folks. So just approved tonight, we have Brittany Henry, who's unable to be with us this evening. She's actually out of the country with her family. However, she is currently an AP biology teacher at Black Horse Pike Regional. She will be taking the academic supervisor job at Freehold High School, which she was just approved for, and was very upset that she wasn't able to be here tonight. But I do believe she might be in Aruba, so I will probably take that over sitting here and being introduced. I'd also like to welcome Carmen Neighbor Santana, who is coming back to the field of and Carmen was a world language teacher here and has been working within the Marlboro K-8 for a number of years as a school counselor, and we're excited to bring her aboard as an academic supervisor for pupil support services and guidance at Freehold High School as well. So congratulations, Carmen. I know Jamie Hand's in the audience, new athletic trainer at Colts Neck, so congratulations. Welcome aboard. We were actually folks are hard to find, good ones, and so we were ecstatic with the applicant pool, so congratulations.
Very good runner for Allen High School.
I know, I was going to say the hand. I was going to say.
And I would like to also welcome Beth English to her new role, as Ms. Wallace pointed out earlier. Beth is an English teacher here at Freehold Township High School, was the Monmouth County Teacher of the Year just 2 years ago, right? And has coached all manner of sports here for just about 20 years, and I think she did 58 or 59 seasons, which is like 83 years in human life. So Beth will be the new Sika at Manalapan High School, so congratulations, Beth. And then I just want, I just want to recognize Bill Bruno. And I'm sorry, Pete, I know that's not, but I think Bill was, Bill passed since the last board meeting. Was a board member here, an athletic director, and just a really good human being. And it was, I think a lot of people were, very upset by his passing, and rightfully so. And so I just want to make that note. He was a board member and administrator in the district, but he was known throughout the state with high school athletics in New Jersey. So just wanted to express my condolences to the family of Mr. Bruno and the rest of the Bruno clan.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.